Now that Tesla's $1.5 billion Bitcoin purchase has brought BTC into the spotlight once again, a slew of headlines about Bitcoin have followed, many of which take issue with Bitcoin's massive energy consumption. Indeed, many of these headlines point out that the Bitcoin network's carbon footprint is comparable to the energy consumption of some countries. Most recently, Bitcoin's carbon footprint has been compared with that of New Zealand, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, among others. Finance magnates sat down with Monica Long, general manager of RippleX, to discuss sustainability in the blockchain and crypto industry, as well as Ripple's initiative to become carbon neutral by 2030. I'm Rachel McIntosh, and this is FMTV. So first of all, Monica, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be on your show. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. So I know who you are, but can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Monica Long. I am the general manager of RippleX at Ripple. So what we do at RippleX is we are enabling and supporting the developer community around XRP and the XRP ledger. So we are doing things from building tools and SDKs to support their use cases, as well as developing programs and other support infrastructure for them. And so RippleX is a part of Ripple, and Ripple is a company in the crypto and blockchain space that's working to make payments more accessible and open globally. Yes. So you may also know, I know you've, Rachel, you will call back to another one of your shows where you interviewed Marcus Treacher about RippleNet. So that's been a big effort to make cross-border payments a lot more efficient using blockchain.
Okay, yeah, fabulous. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the sustainability efforts that Ripple and RippleX have taken underway. And you guys recently announced that Ripple's goal is to be carbon neutral by 2030, which is awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about that particular goal? Sort of what led Ripple, to make this decision, and what does this mean on a practical level?
Yeah, I mean, so what brought us to that goal and making a commitment was just opening our eyes and really understanding what the carbon impact is of the crypto space. So when you look at crypto more broadly, the predominant method of transaction confirmation, of course, is mining, and mining is really energy intensive. Yeah. So what brought us to making a commitment and really leading in this space is just understanding that as crypto really does become the future of money, this issue of carbon emissions from systems like mining, it's just going to increase more and more. And so we wanted to kind of take a lead on making a commitment to be carbon neutral, but then also to bring the industry along. And, we want to partner with others on this. So we also worked with Rocky Mountain Institute and the Energy Web Foundation to develop an open source tool where other blockchains can also commit to decarbonize and to take action.
So it's like the Paris Climate Treaty, but for the blockchain space a little bit.
We would love that. We would love to kind of, put our hands in the middle and make a commitment together.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing. So what, I mean, obviously sustainability is sort of a big topic in the cryptocurrency space because of Bitcoin, again, because of the Tesla investment in Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been the center of a lot of media attention, and, sort of inevitably what comes along with that is like, these articles or, like little news segments that are like, did you know that Bitcoin uses as much energy as Switzerland or that sort of thing. So that's sort of top of mind, I think, for a lot of people in the cryptocurrency industry who care about Bitcoin, as well as people, outside of the cryptocurrency industry who kind of hold that up as see like, well, see, this is not a good thing. How might the cryptocurrency industry sort of start to see sustainability as a more serious issue, excuse me, and how might also that begin to influence something like Bitcoin, which is sort of the flagship of the cryptocurrency world, for better or for worse.
I think the first step is having a conversation about it. So I mean, it's great you're making this a topic on your show, and it is good that we're seeing a light starting to shine on what the issue is through media attention. 2020 was a huge year for crypto generally. I mean, Bitcoin alone grew 4x in market cap, and with that, mining doubled last year. And so just to kind of like put into perspective, what is the climate impact of mining? Mining currently consumes about 0.5% of the global energy. It accounts for 0.5% of global energy consumption. And yeah, we've read those headlines. I read one the other day from University of Cambridge saying, I think Bitcoin mining is equivalent to the energy consumption of Netherlands in the course of a year. And to bring that down to like per Bitcoin transaction, right now, it's equivalent to about burning 75 gallons of gas. So that kind of helps me if I can
For a
like
Bitcoin transaction.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, I think what's awesome is, Bitcoin really reached a watershed moment last year with institutional adoption really picking up. We saw big companies like PayPal, Square, large corporates like MicroStrategy, and some really large funds kind of getting into Bitcoin. Tesla being the biggest headline, of course, just this year. So that kind of tipping of the scales has been really great for institutional adoption. But then that means that there's a greater stress on the hash rate and the amount of energy needed to mine Bitcoin. Right. So I think the first step is let's have a conversation about it. Let's just recognize that it's a problem that we're all better off if we address it now and get ahead of it. It's a very innovative tech space, crypto. So we can solve this problem together. Let's get ahead of it so we don't have to solve the problem later, like in other industries like auto.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially since we've seen the Biden administration incoming in the United States, like sustainability is suddenly a huge, bigger policy issue than it has been, arguably ever before in the United States.
And even just to chime in there, Rachel, even globally, I had read that in the UK, the Prime Minister made a big statement and is making a big commitment to lead a green industrial revolution in Europe, and he wants London to be the green financial capital. And so I think we're seeing this as like a very global trend where there's a call to action. I think everyone understands with the Paris Climate Agreement kind of being at the center of it, that we all have to play our part to slow down the rising temperatures.
But what about Ripple? But what kind of practical measures is Ripple taking to make XRB transactions totally carbon neutral?
Yeah, so when you're looking at different blockchain systems, it does come down to what is the confirmation method when you're looking at energy consumption. And XRP Ledger uses its own flavor of a consensus algorithm, and that process is really energy light. So it's about 120,000 times more energy efficient than Bitcoin, than proof of work, I'm sorry. And even if you look at other types of money like cash, like physical cash, XRP is a greener form of currency than cash. So I think there's you could look at the actual core technology and what is the method of transaction confirmation as a way to get ahead of the sustainability issues.
Okay, I see. And I think it's a good point that you brought up that XRP is more sustainable than cash. I think it's, we don't often think about, the power that decentralized finance, and blockchain has to make the traditional finance, so, to be comparatively more sustainable than the traditional financial world that we know. I mean, it just in terms of brick and mortar banks alone, with the amount of resources that the buildings take up, and all of the
Mm-hmm.
accoutrements that kind of go with that.
Yeah, that absolutely. I think finance overall, like I really respect it and love that, the UK is taking this, the Prime Minister's taking this stance of wants to be the center of green finance. Um, and we're seeing action too from other traditional finance players. I know Visa recently hired a chief sustainability officer, and Rocky Mountain Institute, which is this great nonprofit leader, we worked with on the open source energy tool, but they also brought together major banks to agree to divest in carbon intense industries and instead capitalize green and kind of future forward industries. So I think people are waking up to it. They're recognizing, we in the financial industry need to play our part to serve this broader global initiative around the Paris Climate Agreement.
Right. So when it comes to this initiative that Ripple has to join with other companies in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, ultimately, what are the goals with that? Let's say within like a 5-year window, what would you like this initiative to look like in terms of partnerships with other companies?
That's such a good question. I love your, I'm going to use play off of your concept or your idea for kind of our own Paris Climate
Yeah,
Accord within blockchain.
yeah.
That'd be really cool. Like, let's all pledge, let's commit to really being, the first step is just awareness, right? Evaluating what is the carbon footprint of your business. So in addition to the open source tool I mentioned to evaluate what is, how can you or your blockchain decarbonize, in addition to the work with the XRP ledger, Ripple as a company has also pledged to be carbon neutral. So we're looking at our company's carbon footprint from our offices and people and all of our infrastructure, and purchasing carbon offsets and renewables.
Right.
So I think it'd be great if, more companies kind of got into that with us. I know that there's players like Cello who are have already pledged to decarbonize that blockchain over time.
Yeah, I mean, and that I wanted to ask you also, I mean, just from your position as somebody who works at such a deep level within this industry, what's sort of the temperature check when it comes to other companies? Has this been a matter of concern, like, sustainability in general, over the last couple of years? Is this something that's sort of coming up now, or is this something that you feel like you're really leading the charge on?
It felt like we were kind of out there in front of it, with where we hadn't really seen others coming out on the issue last year. I will say, Cello, to their credit, I did see Cello come out pretty early.
Yeah.
But I do think that the tides are turning. I mean, we're reading more and more about it. I do think, Elon Musk and Tesla making such a big, bold statement in the future of crypto as part of their business.
Right.
And obviously Tesla, core to their mission is sustainability.
Mm.
And as part of that, I know, I think either Tesla or Musk individually had pledged $100 million to a fund to, I think, innovate in this space on greener alternatives.
It's just like all of a sudden, well, obviously not all of a sudden, this didn't come out of a vacuum, but now there's so many more public efforts towards sustainability, and corporations also making, outside of the blockchain space, also making pledges that have to do with sustainability as well. Why do you think that this hasn't been a bigger deal in the cryptocurrency industry so far?
Yeah, it's a good question. It hadn't gone recognized or talked about for a long time. That is very much the case. And I think it was just a lack of awareness, just the conversation hadn't started. And so I think we are headed the right direction. I think there's a lot of more a long way to go.
Hmm.
There's still, just looking at conversations happening in the Twitter sphere, et cetera. There's still a lot of folks, I think, in the space who um, aren't really on board with, hey, let's come up with solutions and lead to the future. But I think where we get early traction with other companies, that'll hopefully we can get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And sort of maybe win people over without them even realizing that it's happening.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of beyond the sustainability effort, which is really cool, can you talk a little bit more about what Ripple's goals are, sort of in the immediate to moderate future?
Yes. So uh, I mentioned at the top that our core business, the flagship product, I would say, that we put out to market a few years back was RippleNet. So RippleNet is all about bringing financial institutions together to make cross-border payments a lot more transparent, reliable, cost efficient, as well as faster, just more instantaneous across the board. And really key to that has been serving liquidity on an on-demand basis using XRP. So that's the real novelty and the killer value proposition to RippleNet and cross-border payments. So we're continuing to grow that network and that offering, launching on-demand liquidity into new corridors, of course, increasing the size of the network. And then on the RippleX side, we're really just getting started. So we're a team that was formed just late last year. I mentioned, our mission's really to enable and support a developer community around XRP and XRP Ledger. I do think, coming back to sustainability, I think the sustainability piece will attract conscientious developers who care about building for the future and being mindful of what is the carbon output of the blockchain.
Absolutely. And yeah, that was something I happen to know, or that Ripple is has been very successful with many regulators around the world, just in terms of, talking about uh, possibly using the Ripple network with bank transactions and that sort of thing. So is the sustainability piece also a part of that? Has that been sort of part of the conversation with regulators as well?
It has been a bit. I think it will definitely increase. You made the point that there's a new administration here in the U.S. with Biden. I think, in other geographies around the world, our climate is kind of rising on the list of priorities of what they want to address through policy. That's another thing. I think the finance industry and the crypto industry will have to follow policy as well,
Yeah.
which I think is going to definitely come into the picture in the next year. Um, I would say that's definitely like a third big goal for Ripple is just regulatory clarity around the world. And certainly I think sustainability will be an input to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Monica, I want to thank you so much for your time. This short and sweet interview. I think we've covered a lot of ground here in a very sort of short amount of time. But before we go, do you have any announcements that you'd like to share with our audience? And can you also tell them where they might find out more about you and
Oh
Ripple?
yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, if you're a developer and you're interested in learning more about XRPL, I would go to xrpl.org.
Mhm.
There's actually a neat tool, a carbon calculator on that site. So if you're curious to understand, at least at a high level, what your carbon output might be from your business, you can use that. And then I would look up the Energy Web Zero is the name of the open source tool to actually take action and decarbonize your blockchain.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much, Monica. Such a pleasure to meet you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thanks for having me.